Every neighborhood has secrets, and every street has that one person who goes a little too far. But what happens when he crosses paths with the wrong grandpa? Stay tuned. This story will shock you. Before we dive in, don't forget to comment where you're watching from. Let's see how far this tale travels. They say every neighborhood has that one man who takes the HOA far too seriously. But ours had Doyle Mason. This guy strutted around like he wore a sheriff's badge. Clipboard jammed under one arm, phone always ready to snap pictures. He wasn't chosen. He wasn't appointed. He simply decided he was the HOA enforcer. And last week, he crossed a line that Grandpa wasn't about to let slide. It began with the squeak of our backyard gate at 5:30 in the morning. I was half asleep, pouring cereal, when Grandpa, rocking on the porch, muttered, "There he goes again." Sure enough, Doyle was climbing our fence like a prowler, camera in hand, taking photos of Grandpa's tomato patch. He claimed they broke community rules. Imagine that, 75-year-old veteran. Planting tomatoes was suddenly a crime against the subdivision. I wanted to run out there and confront him, but Grandpa just lifted a hand and said, "Patience. Let a fool parade long enough, and he'll write his own ending." That was his style, calm, measured, the opposite of Doyle's restless energy. This wasn't Doyle's first trespass. Twice before, we caught him snooping near our shed. Once he even rattled the lock, like he expected to find contraband. Grandpa filed complaints with the HOA board, but the president, Linda Clay, brushed it off with a grin. "Oh, Doyle's just passionate. He cares about the neighborhood." Passionate? The man was breaking state trespassing law under NC statute 14159 Puertoranin, but the HOA hid behind technicalities, calling it internal enforcement. Grandpa wasn't buying it. He phoned the sheriff's office. They sympathized, but explained the gray area, unless we caught Doyle in the act and pressed charges immediately. It was our word against his. That's when Grandpa built his plan. For 3 days straight, he tinkered in the garage, humming old country tunes while I handed him tools. By day 4, our wrought iron gate had a new upgrade, low-voltage electric wiring, perfectly legal under North Carolina electrical code, as long as it was marked. Grandpa even posted a bright yellow sign, warning, electrified, gate, trespassers will be shocked. And right on time, Doyle showed up before dawn. Grandpa rocked on the porch, sipping his black coffee, while I crouched by the window, heart pounding. Doyle climbed the fence, boots crunching gravel, mumbling about violations. The second his gloved hand touched the gate, zap, a jolt made him yelp like a startled dog. He stumbled back, arms flailing, hit the dirt, and scrambled away, limping. Grandpa didn't budge. He just leaned back, eyes glinting. That, he said softly, was the sound of justice. Word spread fast. Doyle Mason, limping down Maple Court, became the talk of the street. Neighbors whispered, hiding chuckles, as the self-appointed patrol tried to spin his story. He claimed Grandpa had built illegal traps, but folks had seen Doyle's antics, peeking in yards, measuring lawns with a ruler, even spying through curtains. The man was a menace, and finally, he'd been humbled. Still, Doyle wasn't ready to let it go. By noon, an emergency HOA meeting was called. I tagged along with Grandpa, but I should have known it'd be chaos. Linda Clay sat at the head of the table, pearls at her neck, and a plastered smile. Doyle sat beside her, arm in a sling for drama, pointing at Grandpa like he'd uncovered a crime scene. "This man," Doyle shouted, "is endangering everyone. He rigged an electrified weapon. That gate almost killed me." Grandpa didn't flinch. He calmly set a folded paper on the table. "That, Mrs. Clay, is a state-issued permit. Fully legal, clearly signed. And I posted the warning notice. Linda tried to twist it. Legal or not, it's hostile. It violates the spirit of community living. The HOA has the right to regulate." Grandpa's tone dropped gravel low. "Regulate, sure. Trespass? No. North Carolina law makes it a crime to enter private property without consent. Doyle's done it 3 times. Next time I press charges, The room shifted. Silent neighbors began nodding. One woman spoke. Doyle came into my backyard to measure my bushes. I thought it was just me. Another added, he photographed my kids' bikes and called them an eyesore. The tide was turning. Doyle's face burned red. Linda banged the gavel. This is not the place for accusations. Grandpa cut her off. No, ma'am. We're talking about Doyle's obsession. You let him act like he owns the neighborhood, and now he's learned what happens when you trespass on the wrong porch. If you're enjoying this HOA showdown, don't forget to like and subscribe. The story's just getting better. Doyle didn't take the humiliation well. For 2 days, he circled our block in his dented pickup, slowing at our driveway like a vulture. Grandpa hardly looked at him, just sipped coffee on the porch, steady as a hawk. On the third night, Doyle broke. Past midnight, I woke to rustling near the gate. I peeked outside, flashlight in one hand, bolt cutters in the other. He was muttering curses, ready to break through. Grandpa was already waiting. From his rocker, he pulled a small remote. "Watch this, kid," he whispered. The moment Doyle clamped the cutters, snap! Electricity surged. His body jolted like he'd grabbed a hornet's nest. He yelped, dropped the cutters, stumbled into mud. Grandpa calmly sipped coffee. "Trespassing again," he muttered, lifting his phone and recording every second. But Doyle dialed 911 screaming, "Attempted murder. This lunatic tried to kill me." Minutes later, flashing red and blue, lit up the yard. Officers stepped out, hands near holsters, glancing from Doyle, muddy, shaking, shouting, to Grandpa, sitting calmly on the porch. "Sir," one officer asked, "is there an active electric device on that gate?" "Yes," Grandpa said evenly. "Registered, permitted, posted, and documented." He handed them the permit and his phone, video still rolling. The officers watched Doyle climb, cut, and fry himself in HD. One officer looked up, deadpan. "So, you trespassed?" Doyle stammered. "No, I was inspecting for the HOA at midnight with bolt cutters," the other officer asked, raising a brow. The law was clear. Doyle was guilty of trespassing, vandalism, attempted theft, and filing a false police report. They cuffed him right there under the glow of the gate. Neighbors gathered, not whispering this time, but clapping. Doyle shouted about conspiracies, but nobody listened. His reputation was ashes. His HOA badge was confiscated on the spot. Grandpa leaned back, nodded at me, and said, "Sometimes justice just needs a little electricity." Doyle sat in the cruiser, drenched in sweat, his empire of fear collapsing. The gate he thought he could conquer was the very thing that destroyed him. Because when you mess with Grandpa, you don't just lose the fight, you set off the spark that burns your whole HOA.